Prepare yourself for a sprawling discussion on just about anything, where critical thinking meets pop culture in a collision of mind-bending proportions. Please secure all neurons and prepare for full frontal cortex. It's time for Incoherent Ramblings. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Incoherent Ramblings' first podcast.
Woo! Yay!
The topic today is storytelling. Let's do some quick introductions. I'm Joey Schammel, and I'll be kind of moderating a little bit today, although a lot of this is going to be freewheeling. I have a degree in English, but that's not a big deal. I think what's more important here is that I love stories, whether it's books or movies. We also have Cale Anderson.
Hello, I'm Cale Anderson, and my background, basically I'm a writer, and I've written several novels and short stories, and obviously I love storytelling also.
And we also have Daryl Jors.
Howdy. Most of my storytelling experience is from the perspective of video. So I've been working with video production since high school and taught an adult school video class for a while. And I thought Joey, during his introduction, said Free Willy for some reason.
No, freewheeling.
Oh, okay.
Free Willy's later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cale might need to move a little closer because I think we weren't reading him too much on the mic.
All right.
So.
Come
I
closer.
can do that.
Join us. Okay. So, since we're free-willing it a little bit, Daryl, you had some ideas on maybe how we can organize this. So what do you think? What have you thought of?
I thought that just since this is experimental for some tenets moving forward, we would say, like, no editing. This is just going to be raw. And we'll just have a pact that we only edit it if it's something like we say something by mistake that's damaging or a deep secret of someone's. But other than that, mistakes and all are going right into this thing.
All right.
Good?
All right.
The only thing I'd be worried about that would be it gets boring, but...
Right. Well, that's the thing. If it gets boring, we just got to make it interesting.
Oh, the pressure's on.
I know. Huh? I think related to that is also length. You know, when do we end? How long do we go for? I listen to a lot of podcasts, and sometimes they're cut for radio, so they're pared down to like 40 minutes or so because they fill an hour on broadcast radio. And then other times they're just these kind of things that, like, sometimes they're an hour and a half, sometimes they're 2 hours. They just vary in length from show to show. And I think since we're going no editing, we'll probably just kind of we'll have a feeling when it's wrapping up, and we'll just call it quits.
Agreed. And I think the guinea pigs agree as well.
The one thing that you might hear is that there are guinea pigs and pet rats in the background.
Yes, we are.
And you will hear...
We are filming from Petco.
Guinea pigs drinking water and pet rats running on a wheel.
We rented a little space in Richard Gere's apartment.
So
don't mind
next time I'll take the wheel out so they can't run on it.
But then we won't be freewheeling. Okay. So anyway, all right. So that's good. Everyone agree? No length necessarily. What? And no editing.
Yeah, Well, I suggested those two things, so I think I'm on board.
Cale?
Yeah, I think that's great. The only thing I was wondering is that if maybe, because of people, there might be times when there's just stuff we just all agree that's got to go.
Sure.
And so I would agree to broad editing, but not really.
Yeah, because why should it be that, you and I should get along so awkwardly?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to stop so I could say the line.
Oh.
Never mind.
Were you trying to pull a Depeche Mode there?
No, he said people are... Never mind. Okay.
People are people. Okay,
People are people.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, maybe we should get started with the podcast.
All right.
So storytelling.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's another thing. We have a topic each week.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, so...
I actually think next week should be time travel.
And everyone's supposed to scream when you say the topic name. No.
What?
Storytelling. And it was just Daryl screaming. All right. Okay, so storytelling. Good. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started talking about storytelling. I think a good place to start is probably from...
I think talking about Joey not watching Looper, that's what I think we should begin with.
Well...
we were going to have a discussion about that movie.
If it was a story, then I played my character quite well because I didn't fulfill my end of the bargain.
Are you a Looper?
Flaker.
Oh, Flaker.
Yeah. So we were going to, for those of you out there who don't know, we were going to talk about Looper because it was suggested that it was a good movie to talk about with storytelling, but unfortunately I didn't watch it, which is why I recommend next week we do time travel as our topic, and then we'll talk about Looper because I'll have seen it by then.
About like 1 nanosecond before you said time travel, I'm like, we should do... Oh, okay. Yeah. I can keep my lips shut.
That's precognition. That's not time travel.
That'll be next week.
Because Joey teleported back in time to tell me that. He whispered in my ear. He's like, it's going to be time travel.
Time travel. Okay, so we didn't watch Looper, but that's okay. So why don't we start with why did we want to talk about storytelling?
I have a correction to make.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't watch Looper.
I second that one.
Right on.
All right. Touche. Since I didn't watch Looper, why don't we start talking about why we actually decided to do storytelling? Because when we discussed this, we were at Robbins, and we decided storytelling would be good. Who came? Was it you, Daryl?
It was Daryl.
Yeah. Why did you want to do storytelling? What was the point of that?
Because it was something that was fresh in my mind, and
2012. The horrible movie you saw.
No, I saw 2012.
That's what must have started it, right?
Well, it wasn't 2012. It was 40 Days and Nights.
Right, 40 Days and Nights.
And that's what kind of...
Not the comedy.
Not the comedy. Not 2002.
Right, if you're looking it up on IMDb, it's going to be the one from 2012?
Yeah, and it's a horrible independent film, and it's 40 Days and Nights. That's the correct title of it, and it was bad.
Oh, that's why we couldn't find anything on it. So then, Daryl, you started thinking about storytelling, because what were you saying?
Well, I came there prepared for that topic.
Oh, I see.
And one of the things that happened is I had recently watched the movie The Dam Busters, and that was one of the things that got me into that topic, because it's a movie that is about a piece of history. It's about the British bombing German dams using the, at the time, very new experimental bouncing bombs. And it was a lot of the movie focused on the development of how they had to experiment to create those bombs and the technology that went into it, and the dangerous missions over enemy territory to go do the bombing runs. And it's kind of a landmark movie from the 50s, and it was released 12 years to the day after the bombing runs were made in World War II. And it just got the wheels turning because there was something kind of controversial in it that I knew if this movie is ever remade, and there are some rumors out there that Peter Jackson might be looking at this movie as something to do. That kind of sprung up, those rumors sprung up before he was actually directing The Hobbit, so now he has this trilogy to complete, but maybe after The Hobbit's finished, he might be doing a remake of The Dam Busters. And so what made this really sink in with me is I know that they would probably change at least one aspect of the movie, taking it away from historical accuracy, but bending it toward something that's a little more politically correct. And there's a dog in the movie that I should probably be looking up information here because now I can't remember anyone's name. But there's a dog in the movie that the leader of the flight squadron that does the mission had, and there's a pretty pivotal point the same day that they do the mission. The spoiler alert, by the way, if you ever want to watch the movie,
it's okay,
but the dog gets hit by a car, and this is actually historically accurate. The dog gets hit by a car while they're doing the mission planning, and that night they're going to go off and bomb these dams, and that affected him a lot because he was close to that dog. But the part of it that's controversial is the dog's name. If they redo this movie, they would probably...
they were going to eat the dog.
They would probably rename it. No,
I was ready for that.
No, the rumors were that if Peter Jackson remakes this movie, he's going to rename the dog Digger. Because the dog's name was N-word. N-word. Right.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so that's what got the gears turning about that is, this is... is it more important to be historically accurate, since the dog's name really was N-word? Or is it okay to change something like that because it's really not important to the overall story? However, it's a part of history, right?
Right.
And they use the actual names of all the people involved on the British side. So why change the name of one character just because it might offend some
Then you get to the whole Huck Finn idea of classic.
Yeah, should you censor the classics?
Right, definitely.
So is it better to portray things as they were, or should you try to clean things up and say, you know, it isn't nice to use language like that? We should...
It's naughty. That's naughty language. Don't use that.
I think that they should change things like that because I think it gets too distracting. You know, it gets too distracting from the movie. And now with special features and everything, they can make their featurette and then tell everybody that this dog was actually named Nigger, you know? And whereas that would not offend somebody to see it in the commentary.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a good point.
I think also one way we need to look at storytelling is by splitting it up into kind of the idea of kind of a storytelling in its basic form, where you're telling a story to tell that story. You don't care who necessarily sees it or hears it, but you want to say it in a truthful way, versus a story you actually want to get to the mass media, the mass public, as many people as possible. Because if you're trying to reach a large audience, then you're going to be as comforting as possible. But if you don't care about a large audience, then you're going to, and you care more about the truth of the situation, you're going to, in that case, I think, go for whatever is most honest to the story.
Yeah,
that's very true. I think that when you look on, we've got that separation going on right now, where when you watch stuff on PBS, you expect it to be true, and when you watch like something on a regular channel, you wouldn't expect them to have that high standard. So
right.
I think we kind of got that.
Or you watch a movie in a theater, even if it's a historical drama, it's still a drama.
Yeah.
And I understand that point of view, that things are going to be changed. They're going to change some plot points to make it perhaps more exciting than what really happened. And I think that a lot of people that claim to be purists to the history might not have a problem with perhaps if I don't know exactly how many aircraft were shot down, but I know that they had huge losses during that. And if they showed maybe a few fails at trying to drop the bomb on the dam and crashes and burns and all that, and then they eventually hit the dam and it busts and everyone's happy, and they went after multiple dams too. But if they perhaps played with the actual sequence of events to make it more exciting, more deliberately intense toward the end,
you mean
I don't
like
know
the
how many
last
people would
Twilight
have
movie where there was
I
actually no action whatsoever?
No action at all.
Oh, no. Okay.
But there was only action in the movie?
For Daryl's understanding, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry,
No, this is an excellent point. This is actually brilliant, because it's a movie taken off of a book.
Okay.
And in the book, it works fine, because you got a book, you're reading, and you don't need action, you don't need a visual sequence.
Right.
But in the movie, you need that. So it's very interesting. In the book, what ends up happening is somebody can tell the future and shows the bad guy, hey, if you attack us, this is what's going to happen. You're going to die, and you're going to lose, and all these people are going to die. It's going to be horrible. They don't talk about it in the book. They just say, the bad guy goes, well, I'm not going to attack you then. And that's it. But in the movie, you see what he's seeing, and you see this whole action, this whole huge, awesome action scene take place, and then all of a sudden you find out, that didn't really happen. It was just this vision. But it was cool. So I think that's a perfect example of how you can take a medium and be true to it while doing an immense change to the original idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm sorry. I just had to say that because that popped in my head.
It's good.
Yeah, that's good, because I agree with you that every medium is different and it plays to its strengths, or at least ideally it does. If you completely transcribe a book into a movie, then you wind up with like a 42-hour movie that no one wants to watch, because it's going to be drawn out. And there are also certain conventions that work really well in one medium and not so well in another. For example, in printed media, anything you read, it's much easier to get into a character's head. This is kind of like storytelling 101 here, I suppose. But, you know, novelists do that all the time. They tell you exactly what a character is thinking, what their intentions are, how they perceive something.
Right.
In something like a film, that's a lot harder to carry out, especially if you just have a scene between a couple of actors on screen. Unless you start doing Herman's Head, where you have like a little, you know, angel and demon pop on someone's shoulder and tell them like, you should do this or you should do that. You don't really have a direct point of view into their conscience.
Yeah.
I definitely get you on that level of, you know, translate for the screen, and I think that also works in the perspective of history. Historical events don't always happen in the most exciting, dramatic way, but when you bring it to the big screen, I'm okay with someone changing some minor things to up the level of excitement and make it come across as a good movie.
Or to stretch it out so you can make 3 movies out of one book.
Yeah.
Like The Hobbit.
Or technically, they did the opposite for Lord of the Rings too. They took one book and made 3 movies out of it, but the book was publishers.
Well, and I think this is part of storytelling too. You got to look at the idea of subjectivity and objectivity. I'm a teacher, and I've been teaching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And what we did with our kids is we read the book, and then we watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and then we watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the new one, and we compared and contrast them. And what I had to let the kids know is, you know, they look at the pictures of the Oompa Loompas in the book, and then they look at the little, you know, squatty short guys from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and be like, hey, they don't look the same, and they're singing. Yeah. And then they look at the little one guy that they computer generated a bazillion times in the new movie and be like, why do they look different? And you start explaining to them, well, it's because everybody sees things differently, and this person saw the Oompa Loompas this way, and this person thought of them this way, and this person thought of them this way, and so you come to subjectivity. How do you see this? And that's why it's a creative work.
I got to tell you, though, it's great that we have it's great that we have a hamster running.
There's a guinea pig going.
What is that's a rat?
That's a rat.
We've got a rat in a wheel.
That's the thing that we got to discuss right now, as before, because we're going to get too far into this. Yeah. The question is, are these animals making too much noise that we need to start over?
No.
Well, no, we don't have to start over.
I just want to make sure.
I don't think so.
All right. Because it makes me laugh every time I hear that wheel run.
When we get boring, at least the background will still be entertaining. Yeah. People will listen for...
Hey, it could be a drinking game. Every time they hear the rat run, they can take a shot.
Dude, they'd be laid out right now. Man. That rat hasn't stopped running since we began.
Yeah. Our listeners are going to be not sober, I'll tell you that.
So you were saying, Daryl?
So I was saying purists might not care if maybe a sequence of events is portrayed slightly out of sequence based on history, but they would care about someone's name being changed, especially when all the other ones weren't. So I don't know if that's right. I don't know if it's wrong. That's, I guess, what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point, because you're talking also about history, reality, truth.
Right.
You know, and with the, you know, you could look at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book, as that is part of history too, and you could say, oh, it cannot be changed.
Right.
But strangely, different from most books and movies and things of that nature, there's not enough in there to make a good movie. You really have to stretch it out, which is what they did in both of the movies. But you get the whole creative license idea. When you're looking at something truthful, something from the past, especially something that's to do with war, you know, you've got to be very careful about where you put creative license. But you have to, because if you don't, you can't do the whole thing. You know, there's no way to make it just, you know, tabula rasa. This is exactly what happened, because you need story.
That's the problem too, is that in history, up until recently anyway, history was from books or from just verbal, you know, but
or
books,
paintings, or
and
whatever.
the books were written by somebody who had a perspective, somebody who may have had an agenda, and so our historical accuracy is only as good as what we're getting from our books. Right. And the books are written by the victors of wars.
That's a good point.
So if the Nazis had won the war, I think that our history books would say quite a bit different than what they say now.
And if a movie like The Dam Busters had been made, it would have been from a completely different perspective of these are the villainous, treacherous people that caused so much destruction to innocent civilians. Because really what they did was they busted dams and killed a lot of civilians that lived in villages below. So it hurt their war effort, which was the goal, but it's also from a different perspective. What they were doing was something treacherous.
Right. So. And when you go back, if you took today's technology back there to record all that stuff, they would be recording their mission. They would be having little cameras up everywhere.
Reality TV.
It would be... Yeah.
Well, that's what, and I think that brings on a larger topic, which is the popularity of reality TV today, and the fact that it's really not reality TV. I mean, it's still story. Everything here is following a formula because that's way back the Greeks figured it out. You know, that Socrates figured out that our brain has a certain way of looking at what it sees and how it comprehends it, and there's a formula to how we bring it all together, and how we not categorize it, but what's that called? Put things in certain places.
Right. There's also exactly what you're talking about. They now have a channel called True TV. You probably know that. And their tagline is not reality, actuality. Which means they're not showing you reality. They're creating this pseudo-reality, and they're calling it actuality. And, you know, you watch what's that one, hardcore pawn?
Well,
where you're going there.
Depends which time of
I've seen that hardcore porn.
And they're always having people... They're always having people coming in and causing problems, and it's horrific.
Wait, is that the one with the porn stars on it?
No.
Oh, wait, that's Pawn Stars.
Pawn Stars.
My
hardcore.
Okay.
Hey, first time
that's one thing about Truth.
Hold on.
Station.
First time I saw Pawn Stars, they were actually trying to pawn a chess set. And I turned it on, and it said Pawn Stars on the bottom, and I was like, there's a whole show about chess? Oh, seriously! It just was one of those weird timing things,
awesome.
And I was like, "This is stupid." And then later, I heard, "Oh, your Pawn Star's really good." I'm like, "No, it's not."
It's the Chess Channel.
Yeah. Sorry, go back. I didn't mean to.
If golf gets its own
But if
channel,
you watch the one on another channel where they're, what's it called? It's the one in Las Vegas, the Pawn.
Yeah, it's Pawn Stars.
Pawn Stars. There you go. That one. That you hardly ever see anybody get upset on there. There's no, you know, it's because the other one is really not, it's planned, it's staged. Those are actors coming in to cause problems.
You said it was True TV, right?
Yeah, True TV.
Yeah, the thing I noticed about that channel is almost everything they run is an also ran. Like, they take the name of something else, like Pawn Stars, and they flip it a little bit, so now they've got hardcore pawn, and then they make it stupid. Okay, just really what they do is they take it and make it fake.
Okay, on that channel, World's Dumbest. Oh my God, I've seen all these episodes. It's fantastic. I recommend it for anyone out there.
Well, okay,
World's Dumbest is great.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I mean, I don't think that's an original show.
No, it's Smoking Gun originally came up with it.
Right. So the thing is, their original
they took it. Yeah,
is very derivative, and you know, derivative can be okay as long as you take it in a positive direction. But I think they derive stuff and they make it worse than it started as. So
yeah.
Oh, well, I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, no, I think there's a good point. I mean, once again, when we come back to what we were talking about earlier, is there's a certain formula, the way that we expect to see story. And just to go back a little bit, when I was going towards my English major, you get two camps of people. You get the people who are trying to learn how to be writers, to go to the mass public, and then you get people who just want to be different. They just want to be the next literary sensation, and they want to do something different, and so they try to go outside of this norm of storytelling. And, you know, sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. But
mostly it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, Kayla and I often talk about our favorite author who wrote Ulysses.
James Joyce. I was just about to say
I know, because when I say favorite author, that's being sarcastic with air quotes. Because it's one of the worst books ever. I couldn't get through it.
I did get through it, but man, it was bad.
Because they were doing a train of thought. Just, this is how I think. And they're trying to make story go different.
I read that in second grade.
Okay, no, you didn't.
No, you
no.
didn't.
There's
Was that ridiculous?
no. It's not Ulysses like the Greek one.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
It's not Odyssey or anything like that. It's he based it off of that idea. But no, it's about this guy's thoughts.
I was going to say it's an adult book, but I wouldn't.
No, it's not. It's not like your hardcore porn.
Right.
No. It is literature.
Adults.
It's in the cadre of
It is
literature, and it is different from anything you'll ever read, and it's horrible. It is.
New drinking game. Every time Daryl says something monumentally naive.
We'll just call this drinking game.
Yeah. Because like I should have realized. Oh, the real one's by Homer.
Homer.
Like
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, it was hard. But that's what happens. And I used to have professors, and I talked to people there, and it'd be like, oh, they want to do something different and interesting. One of the best professors I had was like, you don't. There's archetypes. I think it's CH. I always confuse.
You could have an extra.
But you've got
syllable in there.
Yeah, you've got the quests. The coming of age idea. And there's all these
journey.
things. Exactly, these things that have come up from years before and are still being used today. And you look at any episode of anything that's popular and interesting, it's because it follows this somehow. Mm-hmm. And then you look at things like Ulysses, and some people like it because it's different, but aggravating.
There was a handout I used to give out in my class when we would talk about how to write our screenplays and everything for these shorts that we did in class. And it was something I ripped off from a website, and the title of it was The Oversimplified Aristotelian Story Template. And it was just summed up in like a single sentence. It was basically a protagonist struggles against an antagonist while striving to achieve a goal. That was basically the whole.
Aristotle
and
did a whole book about that.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So every that, but I understand that's not the only way to go about a story.
But you're right, and
that's a basic and a good way to go.
That's actually, I learned that over and over again, and I think I learned it most in one of my film scripting classes, and I still remember it to this day. It was fantastic. They said in a movie, in a film, but also in story, is you have a character who's put in a situation, and they are forced to go towards a cliff. They have to jump over it, or jump, it wasn't a cliff, it was like a crevice in the ground. Mm-hmm. And they have to jump it, but they can barely make it. They make that jump, and that was their adventure or whatever. And then there's another crevice they have to jump, and it's bigger, but they can't make any other choice. They have to go towards that next challenge, and they have to jump that, and they have to jump it, and they keep jumping these things until it has affected them as a character so much. They have done the 180-degree turn, where they are no longer the character they started out as. They're almost the opposite character. Mm-hmm. And then you put them in the same situation they were in at the beginning, a similar situation, and you see how much they've changed. And that's the frame of it.
Right.
And that was one of the best descriptions, I think, of storytelling ever. And it really focuses on so much in so much popular literature over the years.
Which is... Not to beat a dead horse here, but part of why I would really love to talk about Looper.
Damn it!
Because the thing is, he has.
No, wait, that doesn't work.
No, we're not gonna get.
We won't talk about it.
He has something he hates about the ending, and I'm really curious because I'm at odds with you about this. I liked the ending.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hashing that out.
I still want to see it.
So it's going to be a week from now, But the thing is, like, we're like Siskel and Ebert here, having our little like. You're having your Gene Siskel moment because you're down on everything.
We would have watched.
Why do you hate everything? Why do you have to be like that?
Dude, hey, you're dead.
No, I love everything.
And I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah. All right. But
I wish that we would have watched that Dam Busters, so we could have.
Well, but I thought that like it wasn't required viewing though, because it's more or less that point about
just making.
It's just what spawned.
They're gonna need to change the name though, because I just keep thinking Mythbusters.
Adam Savage is the Dam Buster. With him is Jamie Heineman.
And the thing is, he can change history because he's going to live forever. So he's going to be able to change history and make sure we don't exist.
For those of you who haven't seen it, that's a little bit of a.
Oh yeah.
Head towards I don't remember what it was called.
Wasn't it the
1,000-year-old
man? The Curiosities.
Yeah.
It was
where
the 1 million year old. No,
1,000-year-old, the first 1,000-year-old man, and it was
the first 1,000-year-old.
Adam Savage played himself, but it was like 1,000 years ago, and they're doing a documentary on how he survived this whole thing. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's worth watching.
Yes.
Definitely.
Anyway, so
I know you want to move us on, but before we forget about the Dam Busters, because I'm ready to.
That's actually where I was going.
I'm ready to let it go. But before I do, I just wanted to mention that it's been cited that the end of the movie where they do the they have to like fly airplanes down rivers toward a dam that they're trying to hit with a bomb, and they have to be very precisely placed. Well, it's said that movie was big inspiration for Star Wars because it's a lot like the trench run on the Death Star.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it's kind of like it because they're going down like a river with the hills on either side. It's not like they're in a trench, but then they're occasionally getting shot down because they're getting anti-aircraft fire, and they have to make this precise drop. It's like the proton torpedo.
Photon.
Gosh,
that's Star Trek.
Wait, that's Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah. Proton torpedo is Star Wars.
Interesting.
Wow, my nerd cred just suffered big time right there. So take another drink. New drinking game. When nerd cred suffers.
When nerd cred suffers.
Yes.
Well, I think a way to wrap it around is to let's discuss the idea that any story is going to be subjective based on other things that person knows. Like Star Wars was fiction, but it was based off of the trench run, apparently in Mythbusters. I want to say Mythbusters.
Everybody borrows from everybody.
Dam Busters,
right,
exactly.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say here is
again,
that
he also borrowed from Akira Kurosawa.
Right. Yes. Exactly. But we can even say that the Dam Busters probably had some influence on something else.
Sure.
So we see everything as story. Like even when we read a history book, in our heads it's becoming story. So it's almost like everything we see is story. Mm-hmm. So we don't even see the truth. We see story anyway. So in a case by case basis, every movie is true in that respect. I think what you need to do is be true to the movie and the characters in the movie. And Kayla and I talk about that a lot. And I think that's a good area to kind of look into, what it means to be true to the movie itself.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of authors and also screenwriters have big problems with people who make their books or their screenplays into movies, is because they are wanting to make sure that the story stays true.
Right.
And, of course, filmmakers, they're trying to make a great movie. And sometimes those comes at odds. And I can't remember exactly who it was that said this. He was a writer. I think it was Hemingway. And he said that you have to write, you have to be, or when you edit your books or rewrite, whatever, that you have to be willing to kill your children. And what that means, of course, is that you have to be, your cherished idea, you have to be willing to give it up to make the story work.
Yeah. I think your first version was more accurate because the latter part was too many words for Hemingway.
Oh, all right.
No. But yeah, that's a pretty famous quote there, and I agree that it's definitely true that that's the pain of editing anything.
Yeah.
Editing story versus editing video. There are often times where you're just in love with your content and you don't want to let any of it go.
But you have to.
And you can tell when somebody makes a movie and they do that.
Yeah,
and you go, oh man, you should have left that out
because you're bored.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm interested, Daryl, to know if you've, with your how you've done storytelling, if you've come across this, because Kale and I have had this happen with our writing. We don't always know. Often we don't know how the characters, or what they're going to do, what they're going to choose until they do it. Right. And people who don't write a lot of the time don't get that. Well, it's your character. You're making it out. How do you not? Sometimes you don't know because the writing just happens. And if you're being true to your writing, then what happens. You don't.
Right. Your characters take off.
And they go in a direction. And you might have had one direction which you can go.
Yeah.
But you have to stay with what works. And have you seen that in what you've done?
I think a lot of times serendipity plays a big role in things. Because starting things out, I often don't know how to wrap something up or how to conclude it or how to make it entertaining. Like I have something that sounds like an interesting story, but I don't know if it entertains or not at the time. And sometimes what it takes is to brainstorm with a group of people. That was an exercise I did with my students pretty often, is we would just brainstorm ideas. And generally what we would do is we would throw everything at the board to say, we're going to do a particular type of film. just throw all your ideas out there. But then as we went along, we would choose certain ideas to play with in our heads. And once we got further along, we would start developing it into a bit of a storyline. But I think some of our best ideas came up where we were just stumped by something, and somebody somewhere just blurts out this punchline or this ending or this thing that a certain character would do. And all of a sudden, it's like all the pieces fall together, and you see it's like that missing piece of the puzzle you were struggling for.
Right.
All of a sudden, someone puts it in there, and you realize, oh my gosh, that fits. And it makes everything around it work all of a sudden.
You know, it's interesting that in story, conflict is what really runs a story. And in a way, in storytelling, it's conflict that helps make the best stories. Because you're just saying there how, you know, you're stuck and then something, it just falls together. But without that adversity, you would never have gotten to that point.
Right.
And I'm just thinking about the special they had on Firefly, which I think all of us agree is one of the best written shows ever. And the fact that they...
Except for Siskel here.
Yeah. No,
I know he likes it.
That the threat of being canceled, which they were, looming over them, is one of the reasons their stories were so amazing. And I can just see what it must have been like with them when they had to come up with in a weekend with the idea of the train job, because they had to come up, and everything fell into place, just like you said. They didn't think they could do it, but they did, and it was awesome.
You know, somebody does that expertly, and you know it is South Park.
Yeah, exactly. If you've seen...
Did you watch that special?
Have you seen the special? Oh, you'll have a new respect for South Park if you watch the special. It's called 2 days or 1 day or something.
Oh, wait, yeah.
7 days. 7 days with South Park?
No. It was because they only do it. They do the whole show in like 1 day or 2 days. So
well, they actually
72 hours or something like that.
Right, I've seen that they have it on Netflix. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's worth watching because they show you going through the...
Maybe.
I think it was 3 days.
3 days,
3 days to air or something. They show it for an episode that's not really that good. It's the I Centipad one, which is not really a very good episode. But seeing how they put it together in just this short amount of time is incredible. Knowing they do that with all their episodes, it's just incredible that they do that. Like 24 hours before, like less than 24 hours, they're sending it off to Asia to get it, like the animation done and everything. It's just incredible.
Wow.
Like the day before, they're in the booth recording the voices.
Yeah, and it's just
the
amazing.
Day before you see it.
And they say like, well, originally we were doing like a week, and then it came down to like 5 days, and then somehow it just ended up like 2 days before we just start getting things together.
And they realized that all that time they were just screwing off.
Yeah,
and they weren't really doing anything, and it was a waste of time. So that's why they realized this is how long it takes, because that jogs us into action.
And storytelling, I think, is like any other sort of skill that you can master. And when you become a master at it or just proficient at it, then it's not something that you necessarily need a lot of time for. And I think subconsciously, we're saying things fall into place, serendipity, but it's really your skill at being able to tell a story. You're finding these things.
Yeah, there's no magic except the magic of your own brain working in the background, creating everything, and then you bring it out. And that's why I'm a little scared to have my new book go off to the editor, because I'm going to get back the criticism that I haven't had yet. And
you're going to have to kill some babies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That sounds
kind of like Looper. No, wait. Never mind. Okay, it's not babies exactly. But
you said you weren't going to say anything. Uh-oh. Now he's thinking. He's going to have to go home and watch it just because it's going to.
I'm ready to watch it. It's downloaded by now. See, this is one of those things where you tell me something and I'm trying to. I didn't hear that. Unthink it. And then I'm just thinking more about it.
Of course, now you see the white elephant.
Honestly, though, that's not a terrible spoiler, is it? No, because it if you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it yet, it's not really going to give any.
Yeah, but my mind goes in certain areas, and especially the time travel and things. It's like when I was in one of my film classes and I hadn't seen Fight Club yet. Somebody gave it away. I was like, no, I didn't hear that. No, he's not the same. No.
Whoa.
Sometimes I'm like that, but most of the time I can hear all about it and still enjoy it.
I cannot.
The only thing that would
hate that.
Something like, come on, say it. M. Night Shyamalan,
Blama lama dang ding dong.
Right. His first movie, Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that would totally ruin it.
Shyamalan a ding dong, right?
Oh yeah, if you know the ending of that beforehand,
that one, it would totally ruin it.
Oh yeah, quick story on that one. Yeah. When I first saw that, I remember everybody saying how great it was. Nobody told me the answer.
I saw it.
Yeah, that's right. Daryl and I saw it together. And I remember that part where, before you find out the secret, where the kid's there, he just did the play and everything, and I'm sitting there, wow, it's wrapping up, and I'm like, this isn't that good. Why is everybody all like, woo, great movie? And then the twist happens, and all of a sudden, it goes back and makes the whole movie awesome.
Yeah.
I'm right with you there, because I wasn't feeling it up until that point, and it's not necessarily my kind of movie.
Yeah.
But it was that twist that made it very Hitchcockian.
Yeah,
it was just so excellently executed, and the fact that I missed it, which actually this will kind of lead into one of the topics I was proposing here, which is that is it appropriate for storytellers to dumb down to the audience, or is the audience actually that dumb? Is another question about that. Because if you think about it, something like what The Sixth Sense did, if that movie had been, dumbed down by executive pressure or producers saying, "Oh, no one's going to understand that. Well, you got to keep it at a third grade level, so everyone will understand." It would have been a horrible movie,
done that,
right?
Except for the twist. They would have done that to the movie. They would have messed with it. But when because I've read about it, every producer, everybody involved, the second they found that they saw the twist, they read it, it was like none of the rest of it mattered. You want to direct it? You want to do this? You want to leave it like that? Fine. It's going to be a fantastic movie. Everybody's going to love it because of that twist. And so actually, if it hadn't had the twist, they would have messed with it, I think.
Right.
And it would have been dumbed down more.
Mm-hmm. And so the thing about that is, again, when I saw the movie, I was kind of surprised that how much the ending was broadcasted and the twist was broadcasted ahead of time, that I missed it. Yeah. That's the part that was surprising to me. And the thing is, I think that a lot of times that threaded the needle so well that it was like they gave you just enough that you didn't quite get it, a little bit more, and there would have been a lot more people watching that would have realized ahead of time, oh, I see what's coming, right? And I think that's part of, as a storyteller, one of the things that you have to do is be smarter than your audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of... since we're here professing ourselves as storytellers, we're saying, "Oh, we're smarter than everyone else." I don't know if that's appropriate to say that, but you have to outsmart people. And the thing is,
I think we've all learned from Facebook that we are smarter than 95% of America.
Well, that's the kind of high horse I don't want to get on, though.
Too late.
Yeah.
No. Okay, hold on. But you're using smart as like this all-encompassing thing. If you're a I don't know, you're a mechanic. You're smart with cars. You're smart. Any mechanic is smarter than I am with a car.
Smart with cars. That sounds so good.
You're smart with cars, and then mechanic people.
I'm a brilliant person and I'm smart with cars.
And them just smarter than me. But that doesn't mean they're smarter than me in everything. So I think if you're smarter than someone in storytelling, that doesn't mean you're smarter than them.
That's the problem is the whole term smart.
Yeah, too generic.
It's intelligence.
Yeah,
and different. That's why you now understand there's so many different types of intelligence because your spatial, analytical is what they used to test, and if you tested high in that, you were a genius, but you were only a genius in one area. Whereas if you look at Prince, he's a musical genius.
Yeah.
And if you looked at Michael Jordan, he's a kinetic genius. Mm-hmm. His body is a genius.
I would not want to play Xbox Connect with that guy. Oh my god! Think of the size of the living room you would need.
Then you'll win.
Seriously, there's a tall man right there, jumping to make this guy on the raft jump. That would be bad. So,
yeah.
I'm kicking it old school with like launch games for the Kinect because I don't really know what's modern on it. I haven't been keeping up.
I think the point is there's no real genius except for Val Kilmer.
I saw that coming too.
And that was a good movie. That did follow the correct storytelling
Arc.
ways.
So speaking of MythBusters, they tested the myth about if all the popcorn exploded in the house, would it actually?
Oh yeah, that was great.
They did that on one episode.
Oh yeah.
Okay, off to the side there.
But
okay,
yeah,
well,
okay.
maybe
So
we're
let's go
not
back
talking about overall intelligence as an umbrella term, but I think that there is a consensus, though, that and some things back this up, like the popularity of a bunch of reality shows and things like that. That maybe we don't have the most discerning general audience out there, and if you're designing something for the general audience,
I think the rest of the world thinks that
down?
the South are just a bunch of inbred idiots. They've got to after Honey Boo Boo. You know.
Well, here's an interesting way of looking at it too. With reality TV, they did and I don't know where this came from. I just heard it on the radio years ago. They did, but it was one of those experiments where they're trying to see the humor of different parts of the world. And like, for example, Europe had a very dark humor, and a lot of it was death and things like that, which they found funny
because they
a lot of dark humor.
They used taboos.
Yeah, exactly. And it had to do with death, and it's stuff that we don't find quite as funny over here. And Australia was like slapsticker. I don't even remember what the other one was. But America, I remember, because the biggest and most popular comedy in America was...
Just to make fun of people for not watching Looper.
Well, you got the first part right. Make fun of people is to put yourself above other people.
Right.
Find that funny, make yourself feel better. And if you look at reality TV, and I can say this, I'm not trying to separate myself again, because I can say this because... I judged people when I was growing. I still judge people. We all do. But I mean, I think I really did it a lot to make myself feel better. And I finally realized that that's something I did. And then I started noticing it around me. And now with reality TV, that's what it is. You're looking at these poor saps, and you're going like, "Oh my God, that's a
That's true, because everyone watching those shows wants to put themselves above.
Exactly, and so the story kind of even takes back seat because you're being entertained because you feel so much better about yourself. Look at that person do that. So I think that's one of the things. I mean, but they can't just show that person like sitting there picking their nose, because that's not going to be entertaining enough. They still need story.
They'll be entertained for about 5 seconds.
Well, yeah, I know, that's true.
Just like farts.
But yeah, exactly. but then you still
Maybe
need.
10. Let's test right now.
I'd go for 15.
15? Okay, 15.
Terrence and Phillip. But reality, I mean, you just... It's not reality. It's back to the whole reality-actuality thing. I mean, we're looking... They take these shows and they create them. They look at what they've got and they make a story out of them.
I hear running.
Yes. By the way, the Joe Schmo show's back. Speaking of reality. They haven't done it for like 10 years because they have to. The Joe Schmo show is on Spike, where they have what they say is a reality TV show, but... There's only one guy there that's
right.
not an actor.
Yeah.
And it's all about him, and it's all based on how he reacts to it.
Right.
And so this time they're doing it
He's
with...
the Truman.
Yeah, it's like the Truman Show. It's really awesome, and they're doing it again with a bounty hunter. Very interesting. Probably one of the more real reality shows out there in some respects, because you're seeing what's going on. But I think that's also story, a lot of it, because it has to be.
Well, once you accept the fact that it's not all 100% true, then I've been able to enjoy it a little more. I was at one point I hated almost every reality TV show.
Yeah.
Hated them. The only thing I watched Survivor the first time when they had the first season. I liked that. After that, I was just I couldn't take it. But all of a sudden, about 5 years ago, it seems the shows became more positive. Certain shows popped up that were positive, like Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I love that show. And they were doing something incredibly positive. And now I watched the Duck Dynasty, and they are just hilarious. Now, how much of that is planned or not, I think maybe situations are planned, but these people are just genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And it's not about putting people down as much as it's comedy. And
right.
I appreciate that.
And I think that it's... I think reality TV started to get popular because of the whole, I'm above you, put you down, I'm judging you. And a lot of that's still out there, but I think it's evolved to the point now where we've realized that, there's stories to be told. They just have to be carefully arranged so that people will watch them. And so storytellers in reality TV are still storytellers. They're just manipulating the stories which are going on.
I guess sometimes they can be more biographical And the way I would illustrate that is I think you could point to the very first reality program was likely Cops.
Yeah, good point.
And that's real life drama. Because they're probably not getting actors to commit crimes and then have the cops come wrangle them up. So it's real. That's one thing, is that it had a certain legitimacy to it, because you figured it was actually just camera crews out with police on patrol, and you got to see real drama and real people being stupid, etc. That was always entertaining to see. But then I think about maybe something that came along later, like a movie like The Comedian. In a way, that's a little bit of a behind-the-scenes story of what Seinfeld went through on his day-to-day tours and everything. After his show had run its course and everything, he was back in the comedy circuit, and it kind of showcases his life behind the scenes. And that was following a celebrity around to see a slice of his life, what Seinfeld's reality is like. And I think in a way what you're talking about is some of these shows are starting to transition to being more biographical like that, where it's more like, okay, let's see what some interesting person's life is like, not necessarily to put them down or to make yourself feel better because you're seeing someone in an awful situation, but you're seeing a professional dealing with real issues. This is one of the most successful people in the
like
world.
The Osbournes.
And then, just like them.
Well, wait. I think you got an interesting way of looking at it, because even before Cops, we're looking at like PBS.
Yeah.
Where you've got educational television, which is probably the closest to reality TV. And then coming from this other end, which is reality TV, why are you pointing at your guinea pig like that?
Because he wants to come jump out of there.
And you were like, no. I just see you going...
No, and you know what? The more I did that, the more he leaned out. So he was like going to attack us.
Stay in your pen.
But we started at one end, which was educational TV, and the other end of this reality TV, like the Osbournes and everything. And now they're kind of are meeting in the middle. I mean, you get the whole, I should have never taken a zip line tour or whatever.
Is that the Osbourne effect?
That was the South Park episode. Oh my god!
If you ever get a chance to see that, it's pretty funny. They did a parody on the shouldn't be alive, but it was pretty bad. Anyway,
I made a stupid joke.
Yeah,
as usual.
Oh,
I know, what?
Sorry.
You're surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I just missed it. Usually, I catch him and go, oh,
yeah.
No, you said that happened with the Osbournes, and I said that must be the Osbourne effect. But if I have to explain it, it's no longer...
No, you don't need to explain it. It wasn't funny.
It's
okay.
Tech geeks are laughing. Okay.
No, but I think it's important to take a look at. There's a difference between reality TV and educational TV, and they are meeting somewhere right now. Mm-hmm. I think educational
drama. You're actually starting to see docudramas on PBS because it is reality, but they're making things, positioning people and things so that when the reality happens, it's dramatic.
From a neurological point of view, we take everything that we see and make it into a story. I mean, we're always looking at stories. Our daily lives are stories because that's how our brain works. Did we just time
travel? Back about 5 minutes? You said that exact thing.
No way!
Identical.
Okay, everybody reverse and see that I said... I don't think I said that exact same
But it was very similar.
Damn it, I was going on a different tangent, though.
Oh, good. Well, go ahead.
Now I don't remember what my tangent was.
I think I understand what you're saying, though. Is that
I'm the interrupter, so
that was a tangent in my head I thought we were going to take, but then we were going elsewhere. And I didn't want
so
to
thank you, Daryl. So. Thank you, Daryl, not Kale. I was just returning us to the original tangent.
Yeah.
And yes, I do repeat myself. I'm aware of that. No, that's fine. Actually... Call me out when I'm repeating myself.
No, I just thought that was awesome because it was identical word for word in my head anyway.
Really? I apparently we'll check this out later.
I thought it was cool.
I apparently do that a lot. I've heard that from other people. As a teacher, I apparently do that a lot. So
you have to.
That must be why. So, now what were we talking about? I already forgot.
Okay, you're saying that neurologically.
Oh, right, I didn't say neurologically the first time. That was new.
That was right.
But neurologically, yes, we're always seeing stories. And so even the most educational story is going to be... has to be made into a story of some sort. Agrees the guinea pig.
He liked that. He definitely liked that.
Oh, he likes this too. How about this guinea pig? Okay, never mind that.
That didn't work. Right. I think you scared him
So-
with the silence.
The tangent I didn't really want to follow when you said that the first time, but let's go for it anyway.
Might as well.
Was that neurologically you're filling in a lot of gaps
Oh, yes.
as you go along, and that's how you form story. And I think that in a way, you know, it's just human nature. Historians are going to do that too. The history books, as you said, are written from a perspective, and no one was there to see everything. You know, think of something of the scope of World War II and all the different things that happened with it, and all the different people and armies and
Modeling.
huh?
Modeling. That's what our brain does.
Yeah, right. Our
That's
model
what-
of the world,
Right, yes.
is represented, and then so like even historians have to make a model of what happened in history. I guess that's
Yes. I think that's a better way of putting it. C.S. Lewis once wrote something. Eddie was in my class when we for Mr. McQueen. This is from
Yeah.
Mr. McQueen. Yes, so you might have got this too.
For everybody, that's from high school.
No, that's from college actually.
Oh, you were in
Pasadena
college
City
together?
College. Yeah, Eddie
I didn't
and
know that.
Darren, we all went to Pasadena
was-
City
We've
College.
all been to Pasadena City
Yes,
College.
woo, actually yes.
that was critical thinking class.
Mr. McQueen's critical thinking class, or it might have been 1B, which was a different one. I don't remember, but it was all about. C.S. Lewis said, "When you well, what's the big train station
When
in
you
England?
think of
Grand Central Station.
Grand Central
yeah.
Station, right.
You don't think of everything in it. You might see in your head a picture of a postcard picture of it, but in your brain, you're also considering everything that comes with it: the trains that are coming and going, the rats that are running under the floorboards, and all the stuff you fill in, even though you're not thinking of it at
rats
the
on
time.
wheels.
Yeah, exactly. You're modeling it, and so you can take it apart if you need to. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. You fill in. Oh, the rats and wheels would be the one over there making that noise.
Exactly.
I smiled. You see me? I smiled.
Yeah,
Not
well,
the train
I saw the
wheels.
smile and I was like, I'm missing something, and I'm still talking, but I'm missing something. Let me see if I can figure this out while my
Daryl
lips are
just wanted
moving.
to see if I would catch that before while you were talking.
And I didn't. But yeah,
was
so this
thinking
postcard
maybe it was-
picture we have in our head, this model, can be taken apart, and we can fill in the blanks of any part to fit our purposes. That doesn't sound right.
Well, because
Fill our needs.
we can't comprehend the entire
Right, exactly.
So we have to model it. And
Yes.
we have imperfect senses. We have imperfect attention to the senses we have. So we only see little pieces. We fill in the rest.
And every time we remember something, we change it again.
Yeah,
And it gets
because we
put in our
replay
memory.
it, and it becomes a new memory. Yeah.
And that's how some people can get to the point where they totally remember something that
Right.
never happened.
Yes, and it's one.
You can say witnesses are completely unreliable.
Oh yeah, they had this whole thing on the Discovery Channel with where they had a fake crime and then they tried to get people's ideas of what happened, and everybody was way off.
Yeah. Okay, I shouldn't say completely unreliable, but very unreliable.
Very unreliable, I think, would be better. But it's also what separates us from, all other animals. If you think about it, it's really the sense of modeling, because, dogs have memory. A lot of mammals have memory, but they don't use it like us to create this model of the world and being able to retrieve from it.
Where the change happens, it's when you have self.
You make a model of yourself.
Right. And when you can understand that you are thinking about yourself.
Yes,
when you're
metacognition.
self-aware. There's very few animals that actually are self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins, the great apes, us. Well, we're great apes, so that.
Sky. Nice. Actually, and I just saw this thing which was saying that chimps, even though they know that they're kind of self-aware of themselves, they're not aware that other people are self-aware, which is one of the huge separations from us.
Empathy. You need to be able to have empathy.
And chimps don't have that because I don't remember the exact experiment, but it has something to do with dark sunglasses, and they learned that that they couldn't see when the dark sunglasses were on, but they put them on someone else. They didn't make that connection. It was actually a really great experiment. But and I hope we can talk about this maybe in another podcast, is the idea of who we are, like brain-wise, because I believe that, we've got this whole body under us, but most of it's not really under our control. Most of it's just going on doing its own thing. We feel like we have control, but I think we're really this small part of the brain where we model ourselves modeling ourselves, and that makes us, and that's all we really are, is we're just hanging out there. So that
You're
makes
saying that there's just a small part we have control over, and the rest is
Well, from there,
automatic.
the thing is that's not exactly true because a lot goes through that part of the brain.
Yeah.
Because that's how we've evolved. So we can control our legs and our arms and everything.
Well, pretty soon Ray Kurzweil will tell us why that is, because he's creating the first artificial at Google, and he started this month.
Did he?
Well, and that's
He is now the engineering director or director of engineering at Google now.
interesting.
He's full time there right now, doing that specific project of trying to basically create a software agent that is smart enough to actually serve you as a software agent.
Siri 2.0.
500.0.
Yeah.
So, but no, what I was saying is that because what we are is really just we're just part of us is modeling ourselves, modeling the world. That's really what we are. Once again, back to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
That makes storytellers the very essence of what humanity is. I could have said that better, but I couldn't think of a way to put the words around. So
It works.
Okay.
It works.
Yeah.
And we just rolled past an hour, so...
Woohoo! Woo! Happy 1 hour!
Maybe that was a good... But we're not going to cut it yet.
No?
I think we can keep going.
Okay.
I think we can.
Well, I'm just saying that I
Even
think
though that was poignant.
storytelling is perhaps the most important metacognitive. Damn it. Well, how about this? Hey, wait, how about this? I've thought about this. You're thinking about yourself.
I really am.
So, okay, so wait.
Right.
That's this level of intelligence. So the next level of intelligence is being able to think about yourself, thinking about yourself, thinking about yourself. Let's do it right now.
Wow.
I'm smarter.
Wait, I just felt like I had the 7 raws inside of me, or whatever, the 7 cause.
And the 7 rods.
I don't know.
7
I think
cause.
the gears in my mind just went apart, and the wheel is spinning free now. I don't even have intelligence.
Well, the wheel stopped spinning.
That's what it is. That's the wheel in my mind.
There's just a rat in there.
I could see that too.
Kale's ratty mind. Well, bringing back to storytellers and their audiences and the whole thing about cognition, and one of the things I wanted to bring up there, whether we talked a little bit about the idea of smart versus not smart for audiences and whatnot. Whether or not you want to use that exact term, I think that you have to be in a as a storyteller, you need to be in a position of knowing, because you know where the story is supposed to go, and your audience is hopefully in the dark about where it's going.
Well,
and that's what creates the interest in your story. If the moment they figure out where the story is going, they're very likely to lose interest in it. So you, in that respect, have to outsmart the audience. You have to outmaneuver them, whatever it is, mentally. You have to play these gymnastics where you mentally get ahead of them before they get there. Right? You have to reveal to them before they notice what's going to happen. And back to this whole thing about the model of ourselves and everything, that ties in perfectly with one of the other points I had to make, was that I think that in general, if you do a self-assessment, there are a lot of studies out there that just show that self-assessment is flawed, because almost everybody puts themselves above the median.
Yes, they should.
But half of everybody should be below the median as its definition, right? So the thing is, you'll do a survey of self-assessment amongst law students or something like that, and you'll say, hey, how many of you are doing above average in your studies? And you'll get like 80% of them saying, yeah, I'm above average. So I think in a way you can wind up with storytellers falling into that same trap, because they might think, I'm so far above average intelligence that my audience is going to be so far below me, I'm not going to have too much of a challenge outmaneuvering them mentally.
See, but that's for most people. That would be for us, because we're above the median.
Yes,
exactly.
So,
well,
actually,
this is for other authors,
Of course, it's not us, because we're above the median. If we were below the median, we'd know.
Exactly,
but we're not.
The thing is that I wish I remembered who the person said this or where I saw it, but they say that almost all television and movies are made at an 8th grade level of thinking,
right? Because
that way you don't dumb it down too much for smart people, and you don't but you can bring up the people from below to that level.
Well, we got to remember it's entertainment too, so you don't want to think too much. but it's also about intrigue and what I was going to say about, you know, being ahead of the audience. Something like Back to Firefly, I've watched that so many times, over and over again. I know what's going to happen, but I watch it again and again and again, and it's always good. And I think part of that is because there's different layers, and you can find new...
I was about to say that's kind of like an onion effect, because you can keep peeling it, and you find more and more underneath the more times you experience it. And that's always good, too, because I think, that's where the truly above average writers, that's where they make their grade, because I think people who do want to go back for double dipping, triple dipping, watch it over and over again, they can realize something new about a nuance of what one character said and how it relates to foreshadowing of something coming or their relationship with the character, and you might not have caught it the first time, but you didn't realize the status of their relationship until later actions happen. So those are things that are easy to miss the first time around, because someone might be kind of provoking someone with fighting words that you don't necessarily realize are that kind of context until later on when other actions happen. Then when you go back and review it, you go, oh wait, they were starting to pick a fight there and I never caught it the first time around, and that becomes exciting again.
And Firefly is a good example of that, because when you watch it the first time, it's a action adventure sci-fi type show, and that's what you're seeing. But then you start to watch it for character development, you start to watch it for the interplay between plots. I mean, there's just so much depth in that, and it's one of the reasons
why
Babylon
5.
Which I still need to watch.
We both have seen, and you haven't.
I haven't seen that much of it. I have to confess.
God,
The thing is that this is where I love Babylon 5, and I know Daryl doesn't really like it.
I've watched a few episodes.
Come on, fess up to it. You said that.
Did I?
You said you didn't like it.
I think I was saying I wasn't into it enough to really delve in and watch it.
I could believe that. You said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've watched only like 4 or 5 episodes.
The reason
wow! So I guess who's the odd man out now? Oh, the guy who's watched all the episodes.
No. See, you guys are the odd man out because it is awesome television, and one of the reasons, not just because he's a fantastic writer, but it's because this 5-year story arc and stuff on the very first episode.
I do like that. I like that.
Yeah.
All the way through, and so he builds this story, and you still get entertained every week.
Well,
it's beautiful.
That sense of continuity builds a model of the universe that author
nice turn, or bring it back. I think
wonderful storytelling, and since you love Firefly, as I've said 20 million times, you will like Babylon 5.
I know. I just need to...
Here's another thing too. Just in relation to different mediums, even though it was the exact same thing, I realized I got a deeper appreciation for Firefly when I downloaded. Someone made screenplays out of it, like they either found the original manuscripts or they translated it or something. But I started reading the screenplays for Firefly, and what's kind of cool is that it allows you to slow down a little bit, because when you're watching it, people talk fast and they're moving from one thing to the next, and they got to squeeze a lot into their hour program. But when you read it, I came away after reading a few of the screenplays for that show that there's not a single wasted word between characters ever.
And that's
everything they say, has something behind it. It has a purpose. And it's not always to move the story forward. It's to give you a deeper understanding of that character. It's to let you see into the mind of someone and their relationship with someone else. It's always...
It doesn't have to move it forward. It's just got to be relevant. That's the thing, is it just needs to be relevant to what's going on. They don't have to actually move the story forward. And that's what was so good about Firefly.
Actually, that was one of the... out of all the classes I took, we'd hear that over and over again, that any story that you have, anything that happens in the story has to have some connection to move it forward or be relevant to the story. That's why when you watch movies and TV, you'll notice when somebody is done talking on the phone, they don't say goodbye. Because you don't need to say goodbye. You're hanging up the phone. You're showing you're done with the call.
I never noticed that.
They'll say hello because it's kind of expected, but goodbye, they usually just hang up the phone. In real life, that never happens. If you hang up the phone without saying goodbye to someone, they'll be like, calling back, what happened? Are you okay?
Yeah. You know the real life version of that is goodbye. Yeah, I love you too. Yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, we'll probably hang out. Okay, bye.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's
See you
why
later.
if you ever talk
Nighty
to me,
night. Bye.
when I say
Okay,
goodbye,
see
I
ya.
actually hang
Yeah.
up. So you may be talking, but I'm gone.
Well,
Because
the three-
after I say goodbye, it's done.
I find it strange that the
long
three of
goodbyes.
us are doing a podcast because the
Right.
three of us probably hate talking on the phone probably as much as anyone in the
Oh,
world.
gosh, I
Here, a little story here. Eddie, Jared, and I, friends from high school, went to Germany. We had this phone card we found, and we decided to call home. And hey, we're in Germany. You know, we called Daryl. Hey, Daryl, we're in Germany. We snuck out. We're on a payphone in the middle of the street. Isn't it cool? Yeah. Hey. No, we're in Germany. It's so awesome. Oh my God. No, we're calling you. It's like middle of the night here, and it's daytime there. Is that awesome?
I'm all like,
Yeah.
what do you
Okay.
want from me? I'm
What do you
editing
want?
cheesemas for you. Come on, man.
We know we left that movie for you to edit, but man, it's cool. Okay, talk to you later.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what was going on that day. I realized I wasn't very.
No, but you're like that on the phone, and so am I, and so is
That's
Kel.
why
We're-
texting for us is so much better.
Actually, yes. I never.
Because we can send off a text and we don't have to hit. Hey, why aren't you answering me?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We don't have to make a story out of it.
The whole thing about the long goodbyes thing,
Yes.
I gotta say, one of the worst people I've ever done that with is Mike Vasquez.
Really?
Yeah, when we get on the phone, we'll say goodbye for like 15 minutes straight. It'll just be like, okay, later,
Wow.
bye, see ya. It's bad. So,
You should have him call me. I'll say goodbye and let him talk for the next half hour to himself. Because I'll be rude like that.
yeah.
I'm not a very rude person, but for some reason, that's like, it gives me license to be rude about it. Once I say goodbye, then if you keep talking, then that gives me the right to be rude.
So are you saying goodbye to this podcast
Goodbye.
right now?
Perhaps we are.
I think we're saying goodbye to this podcast.
I think-
Well,
This is-
if
it's
I
about
say
running
goodbye,
its
then
course.
I'm going to have to get up and walk away.
Good luck. You got headphones on. You're gonna trip and fall.
Well, I'm intelligent
He's going
enough.
to take the whole
Being the
podcast with him.
95%, I will take my headphones off before I walk away.
Right.
There's one other thing I was thinking about. Maybe we could get into that, but that would be like morality tales or getting up on a soapbox. Okay, we'll just do that fast.
You
okay?
have to have
as a
morals
last minute thing.
To
Okay,
morality talk.
you have to have some sense of. You have to have a moral compass.
Okay.
Yeah, of some kind.
My moral compass is pointing straight up.
Well, I gotta say, I think I get turned off a little bit by seeing stories where you can really tell the author's up on a soapbox, trying to get their point of view across. But then again, that's
I like it
an
for when she
interesting-
puts her clothes on.
Huh?
Oh, aren't we talking about morality?
What?
Yeah.
We're still not talking about
Is she a
morality?
porn star?
I don't know. Are we starting
And
with
morality?
porn stars
Yeah,
or
what-
porn stars?
I missed something.
Okay.
We'll
Sorry.
rewind and check it later. Back to what Daryl was saying.
So we should have probably had this editing clause just in case.
No, okay. No. So, morality, the porn star. Wait, no.
Now that's stuck in your head, isn't it? All right.
Okay, I'm going to put that
All
down
right,
in
the
the show
podcast
notes.
That's
totally went off the rails.
Morality.
That sounds like a graphic novel, actually. Morality, the porn star. Watch her battle evil with her boobs.
You know, I feel bad about this because I probably should have just went with the flow and let the podcast end itself. But then I'm all like, no, I got to shoehorn in this last idea and let everyone. All right, I think we're done.
So, just to finish this up,
Okay.
I don't listen to a lot of podcasts.
Neither
Does
do
this
I.
sound like a podcast?
It kind of does, yeah. Especially if you listen to the Vergecast, which I kind of thought would be our model in a way. They're there's a tech.
Virgins?
No, they're
Virgin
tech.
cast?
Verge. The
Oh, like they're on the verge of something.
yeah, they're
verge
like
of being
tech
with a girl.
podcast, and they're at CES
Then they
right now.
still would be technically virgin.
Their podcasts literally end just like this, where they go like, "Okay, we're gonna end it now. All right, everyone's done, right?"
Right?
And then someone else is like, "Oh yeah, but you know." So
Well,
it's
okay.
a lot like
All
this.
right.
Then I guess we're going to end it. So this is... See, the way I see the podcast ending is because the only podcast I know, really, is Comic Book Men. Because...
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so it's like... And I'm watching that. So, all right, this is Joey Schammel.
This is Cale Anderson.
And Daryl Jors.
And remember, some sort of comic quote. Thank you.
We
Goodbye.
ended with a comic quote.
Well, that's what they do on the
All right.
song. Thanks Thanks for listening. You can now stop screaming at the open air. Listeners should put their minds back in their upright positions and resume traditional thinking. Find us on IamRambling.com for access to all of our weekly ramblings, show notes, general discussions, and any projects from Incoherent Ramblings. Like us on Facebook and rate us on iTunes. So long, and thanks for all the fish.